Hey, Bipolar fam. Welcome to the Bipolar Report. My name is Agnes Black. This is where those of us with bipolar have a personal discussion, not a professional one, about different topics that affect us all. Currently, I have been studying different topics in school, taking psychology classes, and the one thing that really stuck out to me that I think viably is a theory that's affected me personally, and having knowledge of it and knowing where I am has helped me start being, having a little bit more self confidence, being able to build relationships and not be as disorganized about it. But anyway, there was a psychologist. Well, I don't know if she was a psychologist, but there was a woman who came up with the theory of attachment. And it's how we attach to our caregivers when we're like itty bitty. And that's the beginning of us understanding interaction and it's the beginning of our social growth in this world. If you don't have a healthy attachment with your parent or caregiver, you're more likely to have all kinds of mental health challenges, and it can make them worse. Plus, a lot of us with bipolar had either bipolar parents or parent, or in my case, like a majority of my family. So when I was growing up, my biological mother, with all the trauma and everything that I had, I won't go into detail. I have what's called a disorganized attachment type, which it comes from caregivers who are a source of fear or unpredictability. And as an adult, I've had chaotic, unpredictable relationship behaviors and a whole lot of trying to find people that remind me of like figures from my childhood that were solid folks that did love me, right? So you're always seeking that kind of person out because you don't know about the rest, especially if you have a disorganized attachment style. Knowing that you have a disorganized attachment style, you can start to learn coping skills. There's also behavior modeling. Behavior modeling is when, if especially if you have or make have a relationship, like a friendship or somebody in your family that's exceptionally healthy, looking at how they deal with relationships and how they deal with other people and their behaviors can give you a template. And doing further work, realizing, because the disorganized style, it's hard to make connections with people. But by using that modeling, that can help. That's what I used. I had a few coworkers in the past that were just exceptional human beings they were able to communicate well, they were able to make friends easily, and I was able to watch their interactions with their friends to see, like, what should I say? What should I do? I know it sounds silly, but modeling is a viable psychological tool. So if you do have somebody in your life, and let's say that you don't feel healthy about how you handle your relationships, you withdraw, you have fear, modeling a little bit of what you see from somebody else that's healthy can help you slowly build your own attachment. I've had to do it, and because I didn't have a whole lot of empathy naturally, and I had to sit down and work on that. Like, this is somebody that died. I should feel a certain way about that, right? So, by looking at others and modeling their behavior whenever I was younger, and even now, if somebody else has something that works better, I try to incorporate it into myself if possible. But anyway, but that's modeling helped me learn empathy, and it takes practice for some people. Now it's to the point where I feel things very deeply. So, I'll take that versus not caring when something gets hurt. So, anyway, when you go through a whole bunch of trauma at a young age, it does affect you very deeply. And studies have shown that people with bipolar 1 and bipolar 2 have these either a disorganized attached style, an anxious ambivalent attached style. So it's not the healthy ones. We usually have a dysfunction that is rooted in our parental relationships from when we were like itty bitty. So learning what type you are can help you learn coping skills that will help you in your relationships. We don't need to be codependent. We don't need to be avoidant. We don't need to withdraw. It's that all of that. I mean, like, all those negative things are elements of self-destruction, and that's how you wind up alienating friends and family. So picking up better coping skills and knowing a little bit about yourself, it does take some self-reflection, like, why do I feel this way? And how do I feel about my mom and my parent, my parental staff when I was growing up? And looking at your social behavior whenever you were, 3, 4, 5, can give you a really good idea of what attachment type you are. And if you do have, like I said, anxious ambivalent, or if you do have disorganized, these things can really cause issues with emotional responses and can just add to what's going on with your bipolar, especially emotional self regulation. Both of those two types, whenever you're dealing with anxious ambivalent and you're dealing with disorganized, there's a lot of fear and anxiety there. So we can see a lot of times where that came from. So when dealing with that parent and dealing with those feelings from the past, what you have to do is just realize that's exactly what it is. It's the past. And I had to sit down and say, who do I want to be? I'm tired of all this negativity and feeling like I'm subhuman because of all the stuff that happened to me whenever I was little, and my adoptive family and extended family putting me down because of my mental health challenges. I'm not going to feel less than anymore. I decided that. But anyway, when you're dealing with these things, it's there's a lot of unresolved feelings either towards your parents or trauma or fear. And bipolar disorder and attachment styles like anxious ambivalent and disorganized types can interact in complex ways. Individuals with insecure attachment types may experience heightened emotional instability and difficulty regulating emotions, which can exacerbate the mood swings associated with your bipolar disorder. Just as an example, anxious ambivalent individuals may struggle with fears of abandonment, leading to heightened anxiety during depressive phases, while disorganized types may react with erratic behavior during manic episodes due to unresolved trauma and inconsistent relational experiences. And addressing these insecure attachment types involves building emotional regulation skills and fostering secure relationships. Coping strategies like therapy, like cognitive therapy, DBT, dialectical therapy, or attachment based therapy, mindfulness, and self-soothing techniques can help manage attachment related anxiety. You really want to have healthy boundaries, and practicing self-compassion, self-support, self-acceptance, along with support healing from attachment wounds, especially like having other people with bipolar to talk to, and that way you feel a little bit more normal and a little bit more human. Having other people that manage their bipolar really well as a, let's say, role model in your life is also a super healthy thing. I have a couple of coworkers that have been dealing with bipolar for many years. I've only been in treatment for it for the last 6. But these are people that got diagnoses whenever they were in high school and have been on meds and probably haven't had any kind of an episode in 20 plus years. And I know there's people that are like, well, then why would they take medication if they haven't had an episode in that long? Well, it's because they're on medication that they haven't had an episode in that long. But self soothing and self validation are huge, especially whenever you're dealing with that kind of disrupted relationship with your parent whenever you were younger or your caregiver. Me having disorganized, I really had to sit down and figure out from scratch what a healthy relationship, friendships, and all that stuff looked like, because honestly, I was just avoidant. I used to just kind of like go in my bedroom when we'd have people over. I'm not, even though now I'm an extrovert, due to all the stuff I had to deal with, I was like a huge introvert for many, 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 many years. And part of that shame and self-esteem issues. And a lot of that does stem from that insecure attachment style. So it's really important to do a self inventory from time to time and discovering your attachment type will give you a lot of insight into why your relationships have had issues, why you have emotional regulation issues, because there is also a thought that bipolar isn't so much inherited as it's the result of an insecure attachment type. And there's biological things that go on whenever you're bonding, when a baby bonds with its parent. So if those things don't happen, that child may have different things going on than a child that did get all that support and all of that concern from their parent. So if bipolar is a developmental issue to a great degree, I'm hoping, and this is something that I'm actually working on outside of here. But in theory, working on the issues that you have from your attachment type, and it depends upon if trauma was involved or your feelings towards your parent or caregiver. Those things would need to be worked on as well. But if you address all of that together and learn emotional regulation coping skills and other self-regulation skills, you can really have a positive effect on your bipolar. The only reason why I'm saying this is because I've been doing it for a while now, and I really have found a lot of positivity, and my relationships have been better. And I am not nearly as, wanting to go hide in my room when I'm dealing with stuff. Just to give you an example, I posted a short video at work, animated like this, and it was just like, Happy Friday. One of the bosses got to see it and was highly impressed, thought I had made it from scratch. So now they're like, hey, why don't you make videos for work? And you could come up with some characters. And I'm just sitting there going, I got a smile on my face and during the Zoom or during the call, but I'm sitting there thinking in the back of my head, I'm gonna have to learn how to take an image apart into all the little pieces, eyes, eyebrows, hair, I mean, like all of it, and put it on an individual layer, and then figure out how to put it back together with what they call triggers, to make the eyes move or the eyebrows move, and come up with something from scratch. And I'm just sitting here going, okay. So instead of freaking out, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, instead of not believing in myself like I would have in the past and had like monster panic attacks and been freaking out all weekend, I sat there and accepted the fact that I'm going to have to learn this, do a lot of reading and a lot of work on the first character, and I know I'm going to be okay. So that kind of thinking helps me out. And then I also will give myself credit for my talents. And I know I can pick this up. It couldn't be that hard. I know it's kind of convoluted, but a couple of weekends I think I can get this parsed out. So instead of like just totally freaking out and avoiding working on it all weekend and doing all kinds of other stuff, I'm here working on it. So that's how I cope with it. And making these videos help me cope with it. So I want to thank you guys if anybody ever listens to this, but for reals, knowing that attachment type is powerful, and it can let you see yourself in many different ways, and it can help you understand your behavior and potentially change it because you know why. So I hope this is helpful. And if you do know of anybody that you can definitely tell has attachment issues, please pass this on, or at least let them know about it. It's not really talked about that much, and I had to kind of pick my therapist's brain about 4 years ago about it. Like, what is my attachment style? So anyway, I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your day, And just remember to love yourself regardless. No matter what's happened in the past, no matter what's going on, there's always a future and there can always be a different you. It just depends upon what you want to do and what choices you want to make. But much love, much support, and thank you.